Hello, everyone, and welcome to another working session webinar and live Q&A. Let's fill out the PPP second draw form together. This webinar is hosted by Becoming Self-Made and Nely Galán, empowered by MoneyLion and the Adelante Movement nonprofit. So we're very thankful to our partners. My name is Jennifer Guzman. Thank you for joining us. If you've been with us before on our previous webinars, we welcome you back. And if it's your first time joining us, welcome. We're happy to have you here. We have our experts from the SBA, and we're going to be going over SVO grants, PPP second draw application, EIDL advance, and so much more. I want to remind everyone who's joining us that we will be having a Q&A session, so feel free to drop your questions as the webinar progresses, and we'll be getting to them. I want to introduce our host, Nely Galán. Nely Galán is an Emmy Award-winning media entrepreneur, New York Times bestselling author of Self-Made, Becoming Empowered, Self-Reliant, and Rich in Every Way, and founder of the Adelante Movement. Nely, take it away.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everybody. We're back. Last year, we were here with you all the time, working with the SBA. I'm so happy that my ladies from the SBA are still here with us. And we were bringing you all the latest information about money that would help us get through this difficult year. What a year it has been. I mean, we've cried, we've all had anxiety, we've all needed therapy. And, luckily we're getting through it. I told you all there's always a silver lining, and the silver lining is coming. I want to thank our partners on this webinar, MoneyLion. I fell in love with MoneyLion last year. They helped so many of us with those cash advances, just like the SBA has helped us. I'm glad we're all here together bringing you the latest and greatest, because the good news is we've been through hell, but the one thing I've learned this year is that we have to participate in our financial system in this country. And the home for our financial system is the Small Business Administration. It's here for us no matter who's in office. It's been with us for 53 years. When I was in the beginning of my career and in the beginning of my business, I didn't have a relationship with the SBA. Now I'm so happy. I'm like in love with them, and I have a relationship with them like all of you have to have, because in these moments, they're here to help us get through the hump. So today is very important because I never want you to leave money on the table. The government and the SBA are here to help us at this moment. There's all new money. There's a whole new stimulus. And we're going to break it down for you today and help you figure out how to do it, because I know we all have a hard time with it and filling out the forms. We're going to fill out the forms together. So let me introduce you quickly to our two ladies we've been working together for a whole year. I love them. We are really bringing you the information first. Victoria, where is Victoria Guerrero, who is amazing. And she is the district director of the Small Business Administration in South Florida. Victoria, tell us a few words.
Thank you so much, Nely, for having us here again today. It's such a pleasure to always partner up with you with these webinars. We're excited to bring you all the new information that we have because of the new stimulus package, and to go through our PPP round 2 or second draw application. I do want to encourage people, remember there's a Q&A button on your screen. Ask us all the questions that you have. My colleague, Deborah Salas, and I will be answering them throughout the webinar. So again, thank you so much, Nely, for having us here today.
Okay, and Deborah Salas, I love Deborah because she's a gringa, but she speaks Spanish, and I love her. She's bilingual. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Nely. Thank you so much for having us today. I always say it takes a village, and we cannot be as successful with all this COVID debt relief programs without our community partners. So we're here to help and answer questions.
And I love, because Deborah's the lead lender relations specialist at the SBA in South Florida, and all the banking stuff. And I mean, this stuff is so complicated. So I'm happy to be back here with all of you. So ladies, I want you to now see everybody. There's Deborah, Victoria, and I are here. We're going to go deep dive. Victoria, I'm going to throw it to you. There is a lot to talk about, so I don't want to waste any time. Let's talk about, where is that money? Let's talk about, I know there's something coming up tomorrow, so let's get started.
Okay, so I'm about to share my screen. Please let me know when you see it.
We see you. We see the screen.
Lovely. So the information here is accurate as of April 7th. As we know, sometimes information does change, so please keep that in mind. Today, we're going to go over what our Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program, which we lovingly called SVOG or SVO Grant Program. We're also going to look at the PPP second draw update, and we're going to go through the application overview, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about our EIDL updates, the targeted EIDL updates, and we also have a few new programs that we're going to kind of just mention at the end. We don't have all the details yet, but we will be having more information as time goes by. So let's start with our SVOG program, Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. So what is this? This is a grant that Congress created. It's over $16 billion in total available nationwide, and the maximum grant is $10 million. What's nice about this, it's for organizations that actually had to completely shutter during the COVID period when it was at its height.
Victoria, let me just say, so when you say a grant, that means this is money that's given to you. You do not have to pay it back. It's
That's
not a loan. It's a grant. So this is a big deal.
Yeah, this is a wonderful program, and you're absolutely correct, Nelly. This is a grant that does not have to be paid back. So the eligible entities, as you can see, these are live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performing arts organizations, motion picture organizations, relevant museums and zoos and aquariums. In other words, any entities that during the COVID, the height of the COVID period, they were completely shuttered. A maximum of 5 business entities related via affiliation. And for example, if you have 1 parent firm and 4 subsidiaries, that also meets the eligibility requirements.
So let's stop a second, because I want people to see, a lot of you people that are watching, a lot of you young people that are in the gig economy, and maybe you represent, musicians on the side, or you represent artists in any way. It's, even though it says shuttered venue, it says talent representatives, because they know that people that represent talent, the talent was shuttered, and therefore you can apply as well. So look at this carefully, because there's always hidden information. You have to read between the lines that might apply to you as an independent contractor who happens to represent talent. Artists, could be artists, like painters, it could be musicians, it could be, I know a lot of you do a lot of this stuff on the side. So keep your eyes peeled.
Absolutely. And something to think about, you must have been in operation as of February 29, 2020. And the applications are actually slated to open tomorrow, April 8th, 2021. And in a second, I'll give you a website where all the information is at. So this is what you should be looking to do prior to applying for this grant. You need to register in the federal government system for award management, which is sam.gov. So just go to www.sam.gov and register yourself in that particular database. Review the often updated, frequently asked questions, preliminary checklist, the eligibility requirements, and the video tutorials on sba.gov/SVO grant. That's the website, and that's where all your information will be. Determine potential grant. It will be lesser than the 10 million, or if you were in operation as of January 1st, 2019, it'll be 45% of the 2019 gross earned revenue. If you began operation after January 1st, 2019, the average monthly gross revenue for each full month in operation during 2019 multiplied by 6. So that gives you a little bit of guidance.
Okay, well, let me interpret this a little bit, because it sounds a little bit like, again, it's confusing. So the reason it would be $10 million is because, think about it, if you own a little theater, or if if you're like a museum or something and you've been closed, we don't know what the questions are. I went in and snuck in to see if I could read the application for you guys in advance, but the application goes up tomorrow. You got to go on there tomorrow, because it's going to be first come, first serve, and you have to apply tomorrow. Okay. And so if you have a big, venue, then you could get up to $10 million. Obviously, if you represent artists, you're not going to apply for that much money in the grant. But the point is, with all of these things, you always have to read between the lines, because you may not think, because it says shuttered venue, it applies to you. But it does, and it's free money. You don't have to pay it back. It's really looking at people that made no money during the pandemic. So please go first thing tomorrow. At the minute the application opens, fill out that SAM thing today. So tomorrow you could get up there and be first on the list.
Exactly. First come, first serve, as they say.
First come, first serve. The money goes, it's over.
Exactly. So these are just a few very important things to remember. Please note, since this is a formal grant application process, SBA representatives, we cannot assist the small business owners with any specific questions they may have in regards to this program or the application. Our SBA headquarters, they've published the SVOG application informational webinar. It's up on YouTube. It's up on the SVOG website that we just gave you. And if you want to look it up at YouTube, this is the official link. But all of our tutorials are also on that SVOG the SBA.gov/SVOG grant. For informational, additional information, as I just mentioned, just go to SBA.gov/SVO grant, and all the information will be on there. So this is a great program, Nelly. It's something that is very needed throughout the nation. And Nelly, as you mentioned, once the funds go, the funds go. So
Okay, but I want to say something, because again, what I'm hearing you say, Victoria, like when we give you all of the other programs that are coming, we tell you call and people can answer your questions. For this one, they can't, because nobody can show favoritism. But let me just tell you, because I know so many of you have called me this last year, and you get through, filling out a form and you go, I don't know what it is, and I can't figure it out. And then you don't do it. Well, just remember, if you do nothing, nothing will happen. Even if you send it in and you make a mistake, don't worry. Usually what happens is they send you an email or they call you. I think people confuse the SBA with the IRS. It's not the IRS. The IRS is there to really check that you do everything right. The SBA is more of a loving home that really wants you to win, wants you to get the money. So whatever you do, don't get scared and not send the thing in, because if you don't send the thing in, you get nothing. If you send in the thing and you make a mistake, they could probably call you and ask you for more stuff. Just do it. Remember, our whole goal, what have we learned this year? We have to participate. We have to apply. If we do nothing, nothing happens. So it's super, super important to be part of the system.
Absolutely. I agree. So let's go on to the PPP second draw. For this section, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Deborah Salas. Deborah?
Thank you, Victoria. I just wanted to add one more thing for the SVOG, that it is being tiered. So the first priority group would be 90% revenue and loss for the first 14 days, and then it drops down to 70% revenue loss the next 2 weeks, and then down to 25%. So do check out that website, everybody, and good luck. Now let's move on to another program called PPP. So I know you've heard of this program. We've been talking about it for over a year, but what we've done is made it even better. So let's talk about the eligibility and the expansion that we've done recently and the clarifications that really needed to be done. So we eliminated restrictions on businesses with owners who had prior non-financial fraud felony convictions. So that was huge. Second thing we did was eliminate the restriction on owners or majority stakeholders who currently were delinquent or defaulted on federal student loans. We know because of the coronavirus that a lot of people, they did have to, stop paying their loans because simply they were out of work, right? So we adjusted to the market conditions, obviously. And then we clarified that persons living here lawfully in the US, that they do have access to PPP. So what they would use now is an individual taxpayer identification number, ITIN we call it, and then your bank can run it through. So I have had lenders reach out to me, borrowers reach out to me and say, my bank is denying me even though I have an ITIN number because they're saying I'm not eligible. And then if you reach out to your local SBA lending relations specialist, they can assist you with that and sort of share that a new legislative change with the bank or the banking institution.
Deborah, I just want to clarify,
Yep.
Does that mean that now all those people that last year couldn't apply for the PPP, they can apply the first time for the PPP under these new regulations?
Correct.
Okay, and I want to remind everybody, because last year, so many people, remember that this part, the PPP goes through banks not through the SBA. So a lot of you try to apply with different people, and sometimes some of them are more difficult than others, whatever. You can apply multiple times. Don't worry, whichever one comes back to you first. I want to remind everybody of that, because if you're having a problem with one, go to another one. The point is to apply, right?
Right. So just a little tip on that. First draw, absolutely. I do recommend, if you have someone who's not really cooperating with you, your bank, and you feel uncomfortable, it's not a good customer service experience, move on. But for second draw, it can get trickier. And I highly encourage your borrowers, just a tip, if they had a good or decent experience with your first draw lender.
Go back to the first one.
Stick with them on second draw, just because of convenience sake. You will not have to repeat sending in all the documentation potentially, and they're still dependent on your first draw lender clearing certain hold conditions, if that applies to you. So I highly recommend stick with the same lender if you had a good customer service experience on the second draw. That's just, but it's up to you. You can
And
do
I'm
what
so
you want.
glad, I'm so glad you're doing this page on sole proprietors and independent contractors, because so many of you out there that are sole proprietors, you're working in the gig economy, you really didn't even think PPP was for you. PPP is for you. You know, so you don't think, maybe you don't think you're, you know, a business person, but you are. If you're a sole proprietor or an independent contractor or a self-employed person, you are self-made. You are working for yourself and you're eligible for the PPP. So go ahead, Deborah, tell them about this, because this is new stuff too.
Exactly. So to add more flexibility and elasticity to our program and allow the Schedule C borrowers, what we've done is we allow them now to use gross income. Now they can use gross income or net income. Okay, they have a choice to calculate their PPP loan amount to receive more financial support. It is not retroactive for Schedule C filers. So if you already submitted your PPP, you cannot go back to your loan. It's already been dispersed. We run something called a 1502 report that the lenders give us. It's locked and sealed. However, this is for new PPP applicants. The other one I wanted to say is if you submitted a Schedule C application prior to March 3rd, 2021, speak to your lender, because they can, if it hasn't been dispersed, or if they can withdraw it and cancel it, right? There is a way if you want to use this new calculation. Now, we took into consideration here that those sole props who needed more flexibility to cover other business expenses to stay in operation, or the ones first time, let's say your loan amount was really low because you used net income or you had negative net profitability. For second draw, you're going to be able to go back and probably, potentially get a higher loan amount. So this really added more dimension for those. So next slide. Oh, we're going to review the application. I'm going to hand it over to Victoria to start that.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate it. So I'm just going to stop sharing here for a moment.
Yeah.
I can show you where to go to get the application. So basically all you have to do is go to www.sba.gov/relief.
And I want, while Victoria's doing that, I just want to remind you all that on the SBA website is the list of all the banking partners. And I think it's important that you look at that, because there's a lot of new players. There's a lot of fintech. I find that the fintech companies have been easier to do the PPP with than regular banks. So you may want to look at that and go there and just, people that you're more comfortable with, especially young people. I think that that's important to look at.
Can I just add something, a little tip,
Yeah.
really important, Nely, based on piggybacking on what you said. If you are the type of person that you need high touch, you like to call a customer service agent, you probably want to work with your local bank or community lender or a CDFI or CDC, something like that, because one of the things about the fintechs, super quick, fast, you get your money. But if you have a lot of questions and you want a lot of hand holding, I don't recommend necessarily a fintech. This is just a tip, or you have to know the type of business owner you are and the needs that you require.
Good, thank you.
So I just wanted to show everyone, when you go to our website, I don't know if you saw the previous page, but we go to sba.gov/relief. It has information on all of our programs. That's your go-to page. From there, you can click on the program that you want, and they're all set up this way. You have additional information, loan details, loan eligibility, loan increases, how to do that for existing borrowers, how do you do that, and so on and so forth. So it's very important that you can go on here. You can also change the language on our website. If you prefer it in Spanish or in Mandarin, you can go ahead and make those changes by just clicking on the translate button on the top portion here. It's very important.
We all have parents that don't speak English too, so you know we can help them go through it and do it with them. So that's a wonderful thing.
Exactly. So you can go through here and go through all this information. And
Are you sharing your screen, Victoria? I don't see
No,
it.
we
I'm
don't
just
see it.
oh, I thought you saw it. Okay, I
No.
apologize. Let me just go ahead and open the application. And that way it'll be a little bit quicker. Let's see, let me try to share this once again and go through the actual application here. One second.
And by the way, just so you know, we've done so many of these tutorials on filling out the forms that if you guys get stuck, I mean, we'll send you all this tutorial, but you can also go to my website, becomingselfmade.com, and we've done many tutorials on how to fill out all the forms, and you could fill it out. We sent it to all of you. We can send it again if you didn't get it, all the forms, and you can fill it out with us together. Because I know that's where we all get stuck and we get really scared, like, oh my God, am I doing this right? So don't worry at all. We've figured out how to do it. Okay. Oh, it's like flashback. I'm seeing the paperwork again. I get post-traumatic stress, but I know how to do it now. So I think it's great.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of this will be familiar to folks. A lot of the information is the same if you've already applied for PPP first draw. Basically, you'll see a lot of the same boxes here. You want to check which type of entity you are. And again, this is for Schedule C filers. So these are for those that are in the gig economy world. You want to make sure that you check the box that qualifies you, and just go box by box. You know, if you do a DBA.
Can I just say one thing, Victoria, because a lot of you have asked me. So a lot of you look at this thing, it says sole proprietor, independent contractor, self-employed. Which am I? You know, a lot of you live and you don't pay yourself a salary. You live off the money you make. Let's say you drive an Uber, you do this, and so you're like, oh my God, what am I? What's a Schedule C? And, you know, don't worry about it. Like, this is not the IRS. I'm telling you, they're not out to get you. They just want you to like figure it out. But it's okay if you don't even figure it out right. Like, if you don't even pay yourself a salary, all you're going to do is send a couple of bank statements to show, like, not everybody has a Schedule C. Not everybody has all these things. I think the SBA understands that we are all different types of entrepreneurs or different types of self-employed people, right? So I don't want you to worry about it. This is not a get ya. We're trying to get ya. It's not that at all. So I think that's important to say, right?
Yes, and something to remember, the SBA and our resource partners, we can help you with this application. So if you're interested in contacting us, just go to sba.gov/local assistance and put your zip code, and you're going to get all of our resource partners that are in your area and your local SBA office. So you can just give us a call, send us an email, let us know that you need assistance, and we can help you with information in regards to this particular program. And if you have questions in regards to this application or the paperwork that you're submitting, that's what we're here for. So don't be shy to reach out. We're here to help you.
I just want to clarify two things. The first thing is, this is our newest form for Schedule C filers who are using gross income, okay? If you're not using gross income and you want to continue doing what you did on your first draw, for example, using net income, you would use a different form. The other trick, if you don't know how you're incorporated, whether you use a Schedule C or LLC, you can find it on your tax returns. And you should also reach out, like our resource partners, like Victoria said. Although we don't personally sit and hold your hand and do the technical assistance with you, the SBA, we sort of outsource that, if you will, to our resource partners. So they would be the ones that you would make an appointment virtually, and they can hold your hand and walk you through the application process, as well as your lender. Remember, they also have a breadth of knowledge to help you as well.
Yeah, and I think, Deborah, just to clarify for everybody, this is why you get somebody on the phone with you if you're confused, because what it is this is a way to do it that might be easier. And but when she's saying use form 1 or form 2, it's whichever one's going to get you the most money. I mean, that's your goal, right? So whichever way your numbers work better. And I think that that's something that if you don't know how to do that, get on the phone with one of these people. I love all the resource partners for the SBA. I live in California and we have so many of them, and they're super nice. They're like free therapists for your money. I mean, it's really amazing. It really is. They really help you figure it out. And again, their goal is to help you get the most money. Everybody knows that people are struggling and that we really need help right now just to get over this hump. So I don't want you to freak out. It's really, I mean, it is overwhelming at first, but then you just breathe and you get help, and it's amazing how easily you can fill this out.
Absolutely. And as mentioned, you know, the first part is pretty easy. What I do want to bring your attention to is this box here says total amount of gross income. This is when you go to your taxes and you look for form 1040, and there's a schedule in there called Schedule C. All you have to do is look at line 7, and whatever number is on line 7, you put it in that box. Then you need to let us know if you picked it up from your 2019 taxes or your 2020 taxes. You can choose which one you want. And you need to let us know how many number of employees. This includes owners and any affiliates you may have, if applicable. It cannot exceed 300 individuals per location. So just remember that.
And if you work for yourself, you're 1 employee. So put 1.
Correct. And
Right.
Another tip is all part-time and full-time employees are counted as 1. So if you have 1 part-time employee, 1 full-time, you are 2 part-time and 1 full-time, right? They're all considered 3, not 2. Just wanted
Wow. So that changed from last year.
to, that was clarified in this recent update with Schedule C changes.
Correct. And if you don't have any employees other than the owners, then you would complete this table here, section AB. So your gross income amount for 2019 or 2020, again, from that same form 1040 Schedule C, line 7, you would put it in there. You divide that amount by 12 if it's more than $8,333, and you enter it here. Then you multiply that by 2.5 or 3.5 if your NACE code, which is the North America Industry Code, is 72. Every company and organization and industry in the US has a NACE code associated to what they do. NACE codes with 72, those are people that are in the food and beverage industry.
Okay, so let's clarify this, because now it starts getting, I want not to be confusing. So just so we clarify this, you're taking what do you make divided by 12, in as long as it's not over 8,333 divided by 12. And then you're multiplying it by 2.5. So just to clarify, you're getting 2.5 months of salary for you and for any employees you have. And if you are, if your code is anything other than restaurant, you're getting 2.5 months. If you're a restaurant employee, employer or employee or owner, you're going to get 3.5 months of salary. So we're giving a little extra to restaurant people because they've suffered the most. So that's it. You're getting 2.5 months if you work for yourself of salary back, and or if you have employees, 2.5 months of each of their salary. And if you're a restaurant owner, or if you work for yourself, if you're 1099 restaurant person, you're going to get 3.5 months. So that's what the story is.
Right. And then if you have employees, instead of doing this A, B, and C on the top, you're going to fill out this section here. So again, you just follow it step by step. I think what's important to mention is now we have additional expenses that are covered, which is great for our business owners, right? So now when you get your PPP funds, you still need to use at least 60% for payroll costs, and you can use the rest for any of these expenses you have. Or you can decide you can do 80-20 or 100% to payroll costs. It's really up to you. But if you're going to use it for expenses, and you need to dot here which type of expenses you're going to use it for. So just remember.
Well, let's talk about that, because I love to interject here, because I think when we're doing this, yes, we're lucky that now you have, you can put in all these other expenses. But just as someone who's done this process myself, if you put in all these other expenses, just know that in order to be forgiven later, you're going to have to find all this paperwork. So if you want to make your life easy, since there's a cap to what you can get, you're better off to cap it out with the payroll. So you only have to then give information later on one expense, not on 20 expenses. So I'm just telling you the ease of doing it. My opinion, this is not the SBA speaking, this is me. Try to make this easy for yourself, because it's hard enough to fill out all these forms anyway. And the more you can stick to payroll, the easier your life will be later. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Can I also just interject a financial tip?
Yeah.
That if you don't know your NAICS code, it is on your tax return. Okay, so
that's good to know, because it took me 20 hours to figure it out. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So if we continue here on PPP first draw, if you did receive your funds for the first draw, round 1 of PPP, you should have your SBA loan number. You do have to put that on here. If you don't have it readily available, contact your lender, the one that provided your funds, and they should be able to provide that to you.
And Victoria, why do you guys want that? Does that count against me if I got the first PPP loan?
No, it's not going to count against you. Remember that these loans, you have first draw and second draw. And when you go through the forgiveness process, you have to go through the forgiveness process for both individual loans. So it won't count against you.
By the way, I'm getting questions about the first PPP loan. A lot of people either when did forgiveness and haven't heard back, or haven't done forgiveness. First of all, is it weird that people haven't heard back? And B, if you haven't gotten the forgiveness on the first one, can you do the second one?
Okay, so yes, if you haven't gotten forgiveness on the first one, you can absolutely do the second one. One doesn't have anything to do with the other, so you can go ahead and do that. You just need to make sure that you've either exhausted all of your PPP first draw funds, or you will be exhausting it by the time you get that second draw. Because remember, and we're going to go through this in the next section here of the application, you need to show a reduction of at least 25% of revenue loss compared to the previous quarter that you choose. So we're going to go through that. In regards to
complicated. That sounds complicated. So we need to explain that. Okay.
Yeah, but before you move to the 25%, I want to just clarify why you have to do the first draw SBA loan number. It is because in order to be eligible for the second draw, you had to have had a first draw, right? And the first draw, all the hold codes or any eligibility issues need to be cleared first in order for your second draw application to be approved. If you can't find your first draw loan number because you can't get in touch with your lender, because we get millions of these calls, Victoria and I do, a day, you can also look at your closing document, your note. What you signed on your first draw should say the SBA loan number all over it. So that's another little tip on where to find your first draw, but you should get it from your first draw lender.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about this 25%.
So I just want to make sure folks read, this information. So again, as Deborah mentioned, the reason you're asking for a second draw is because you still need funding in order to continue operating your business. So you need to show a reduction in gross receipts of at least 25%. Now, applicants for loans of $150,000 or less, you may leave this blank, but you must provide this information upon or before seeking loan forgiveness or upon SBA request. So,
by the way, not every bank lets you leave this blank. I have found.
Exactly.
So I think we should talk about this. I guess the purpose of this PPP2 is that we all, made less money last year than before. And we just have to prove it in one quarter. However, some people made more money last year. Some people really did well. I've met quite a few people, shockingly, that, that maybe made masks or pivoted, whatever, and made more money. And I think that you should just know, if you made more money last year than other years, you should not be applying for this money. I mean, let's be really real. So this PPP2 is to help people that really lost money last year, at least 25% in one quarter. Correct, Victoria?
That's correct. And one quarter compared to the same quarter in 2019. So that, Nelly, you just covered our next sections here. So this is where you want to choose the quarter for 2020, choose the comparable quarter for 2019, put the dollar amounts on these gross receipts. And it's as long as it's a reduction of gross receipts of 25%, then you'll be able to qualify.
And
I
just
know
a
there's
little,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Deborah.
I was going to say a tip. While you're filling out the application, if you have the documentation, just enter it, because you will have to have it for forgiveness and the bank may ask you for it anyways. Get it over with. That's just my suggestion financially.
I was just going to say the same thing, because sometimes they don't ask you to give the paperwork now. If we've learned one thing this year, is to get your financial paperwork in order. Like, now I have it all ready to go. The taxes, the Schedule C. I mean, I think that we all used to do our taxes and throw them somewhere, and we didn't know where anything was. Now we know that to take advantage, to be part of the American financial system and take advantage of all the things that are coming, our financial paperwork has to be ready to go at all times, and has to be really top, like on the top drawer and ready to go. So this thing, they may not ask you, I'm just telling you because I've done this already, they may not ask you for the paperwork for the gross receipts and you think, oh, I'm going to get away with it, I'm just going to say whatever. They're going to ask for it eventually. And then you're going to, then it's like, it's not, maybe, I don't know if you'll get in trouble, but they'll be like, really? You took the money from somebody else that really needed it? And I do think this is a moment to think like that. Because, a lot of times we feel like we're entitled to it because it's been such a hard year, but we really have to be considerate because there's only so much money and there are people that really are in need. So I want you to really think about it.
And just to augment what you said, to add what you said, they are self-certifying. So maybe they're not sending the gross receipts now, but they are certifying, obviously under penalty of perjury, that they in fact can demonstrate that 25% reduction in revenue in gross receipts. And we all know 90-something% of people, they can demonstrate that. So why would you, as you said, leave money on the table,
But I know also that a lot of people, and I listen because I hear it because I deal with entrepreneurs every day, and they say to me, it's not right, all these big companies got the PPP loan last time. I just want you to hear from the SBA that a lot of the stuff that happened last year, a lot of those people are getting in big trouble that took money when they really didn't need it. So don't think that it's going to go away. I mean, before this is all over, it's going to be really embarrassing when all these people, it all comes out that they took money that they didn't need. So don't think that it's complete, like there's injustice, and sooner or later, there will be, comeuppance of all this stuff. Don't you agree, Victoria?
No, I do agree. And the second page here is kind of the self-certification that Deborah was talking about, where people are going to have to initial each of these paragraphs certifying that they are in economic distress.
Because we can't see that page.
Well, before we get there, I wanted to let folks know this is the last section here on the bottom of page 1. You need to list any owner of the business that has an interest of at least 20% or more. So just make sure to keep an eye on that, because if you don't list it, it's going to hold up your application. So make sure that you have all that information. So as we go here to the second page, this is optional. You can disclose, this information. It's just demographic. But this is a section down here that I wanted to kind of, talk about. You're going to have to say yes or no to each of these questions. It's just making sure that, you understand, and that, for example, if you are, question 7, if you are a franchise, you need to say yes. Don't say no. And then when we do our due diligence, we find out that you are, because that's going to hold up and it's going to put a red flag on your application. So just be honest while you're going through each of these sections. It's very important. And then
Oh, I just wanted to encourage people to fill out the demographic section, because a lot of times the federal government will go look at that data. And if there's a need that we're not filling, or a gap that needs to be filled financially for a segment of the population, then that could help you in the long run. So I just want to encourage people to look at that and fill it out.
Again, it is optional, but it is encouraged. And then this is the last page. And this is the page where I was saying you have to read each of these paragraphs and initial next to it. A lot of it is making sure that you are in economic distress, making sure that you understand how the program works, making sure that you're going to utilize the funds the way that that's meant to be utilized. So it's very important that you go through each of these and you initial each of those sections. And then at the very end, all you have to do is sign and date it and print it, and you are done. But Nely, one thing I wanted to mention to people, you can use this form kind of as a guide to get you prepared. Remember, many banks have this already electronically on their website. They have a portal that you log into, and a lot of the same information is going to be requested on there. So feel free to go to our website, download this, use it as a cheat sheet, if you will, to get you ready. And then when you have all the information, you can go to your bank's portal. All you need to do is Google the name of your bank and put PPP application second draw, and it should send you to their portal if they do have one. And just go ahead and put the information in there.
I think when people go on a portal and you have to fill out the form and you kind of freak out because you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. And then you feel like time's running out on the portal. And then if you might lose all the information. So we love this form because this is kind of the standardized form. You might go on a portal that has a lot less, that they ask a lot less than this. Or you might have some questions that are not on here in a specific bank. But I feel like if you fill this out ahead of time calmly, because we all have so much anxiety, or I have more anxiety, then it really helps you when you fill it out online, not to panic and not to freak out. You're like, I got it all done. You're just copying. And I really think I highly recommend doing this, because I know we're all so anxiety ridden, and I've done this now with so many people, and it really helps to do it in advance. I just want to say. So just if you didn't get a copy of this from us, you can also email us at info@becomingselfmade. We'll send you these forms. And again, if you don't, we'll send you the copy of this webinar, but also we have a lot of them on the website that we fill out the form calmly and slowly with you. So I want us all to de-stress, de-escalate. You know, everybody needs therapy. We don't need any more anxiety. So I think this is like a breathing thing. Just get it done, and you're going to see it's not that bad.
Absolutely. And Nely, if you'd like, I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the PowerPoint, but this might be a good time to take some questions.
Yeah.
Jen has some available for us.
Yeah.
Everyone, yeah, we have tons of questions on here. So I'm just going to start with this one. I applied for the PPP through Womply and I haven't heard back. I'm a North Carolina woman that owns a small business, and she hasn't heard back. So what would you advise her to do?
So that's interesting. That's the second question I got about Womply, and I have never even heard of them. They must be like an intermediary broker kind of person, or company. But today that I heard about that. But I would say that they need to go to the source. How did they find that lender to begin with? I would try to find a customer service representative, and they're going to have to proceed, that way, because I'm not sure who they, how they contact that lender. And any tips that Victoria you would have on that?
No, basically the same thing. I have not heard of Womply either. I would say to contact them directly to get information. Unfortunately, we don't have any information on them that we'll be able to share. But I am going to share my screen real quick so we can continue where we left off with
Can I just jump in? Because there's another question about Womply is apparently a fintech company. So, and there is a question about what are the fintech companies? Can you guys talk about some of the fintechs that are doing PPP loans? Womply is one of them. So there are apps that do PPP loans. Can you talk about them, like the PayPals and those kind of people?
Well, basically, a fintech company, it's not a traditional bank, right? They are individuals or entities that we reached out to because of the nationwide scale of this pandemic, that we really needed assistance to be able to go through these applications in a quick manner and turn it around. And so we reached out to what we call our fintech companies. And they, Nely, like you said, a lot of it is online. It's all through applications.
MoneyLion, who's powering this event with us, is a fintech company.
Exactly. And they're there to help, intake the application and process them. They're not a traditional bank, but you should be able to contact them and speak to someone in their organizations, or go to their website. There should be some contact information on there as well. Deborah, I don't know if you want to add.
Sure. So they're not brick and mortar. They're usually non-depository financial lending institutions. So FIN is short for financial tech, obviously technology. So all their applications are online. So sometimes they don't have that sort of high touch customer service. So if you need it, it's probably an online situation where you're going to have to do a little digging, do a little research, and go online and find out their customer service, number, or they even probably have a chat system set up for you. A lot of the fintechs do that as well.
Right. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen so we can continue. I don't know if there's another question that you want to address, Jen, before I do that.
Oh, Jen, we can't hear you.
We're losing you a little.
Whoops. Okay, is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So any advice on application of PPP to startups? Also, is PPP available for startups which manage and invest in opportunity zone funds?
So we have to unpack that, because that's really three questions. The first one is PPP for startups. No, you had to be in operation prior to February 15, 2020, and you had to have payroll needs, right? Because the spirit of the legislation is called Payroll Protection Program. So the second thing they said, for startups, we have other SBA programs like our micro lenders, our community advantage program. Those are really more geared towards our startups. And, I recommend they reach out to our resource partners so that they can get access to capital, and they'll hold their hand, help them through their business plan, and their projections and all of that stuff. Now, their third part of that question was on opportunity zones. Victoria's kind of a resident in-house opportunity zone guru. So Victoria, you want to mention what we have for opportunity zones?
Well, for individuals now, Jen, if you can restate that question. They wanted to know if they are in an opportunity zone, if they can apply for PPP.
Well, the exact wording is PPP available for startups which manage and invest in opportunity zone funds?
Okay, got it. So Deborah answered
That's an investment question. You're right. I didn't hear the tail end. So our programs are not for investment companies, lending companies, those kind of firms. That's not what our programs are for. So typically they would go to, alternative financial lendings that have an appetite for those type of industries.
Right, and plus in this case, there are startups, so the answer is it's still no. So unfortunately, we won't.
But I do think, just to answer that question, I think that there are right now a lot of grants, and there's a lot of money out there for startups and for startups in opportunity zones. I think that, what I do is every day I wake up and I go grants, loans, blah, 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 in whatever space I'm interested in the federal, nationally. And then I look in my state. I think you also all don't realize there's so much money that partially the SBA gives to states, but also that states raise themselves. And in every state, there's so much money. And again, that's why I want to go back to what is the goal here, is to participate in our financial system, both federally and locally. And I have to tell you that I did not do it for so many years. I want to hit myself for all the years that I ran businesses and all the other crises that I've been through economically in my life as a business owner, that I didn't use my federal and state help. Insane. So we don't want you to do that. So just know that, yeah, right now we're talking about PPP, which is very specific to a specific window, but there is a lot of money out there. That's the silver lining, and you have to go get it. And you have to be a hunter and find it.
Absolutely. So I think, should we continue with the questions, or should I
Yep.
pass over to?
Jen, do you have any more?
Yeah, these are a couple of quick ones. Are you able to use 2019 Schedule C since the IRS extended tax due date for 2020?
Yes. Yes.
Right, another quick one. If I am a 1040C filer and applying for a PPP for the first time, which form do I use?
So they would have to decide if they're going to use, they said they're a 1040 Schedule C. So they would decide whether they want to use the net income or gross income. And I highly encourage them to go to our website. Well, first of all, they need to check with their lender, because remember what Victoria shared with everybody before. Their lender may have it all easy online. If you have this, click here. If you do this, click here. So I would first go to the lender, but they can always go to sba.gov/PPP. And then we have it sort of broken down, first draw borrowers and second draw borrowers. And that is a treasure trove of every single application, instructions on how to do it, how to calculate maximum loan amounts. I say this on every webinar I go on. That should be your guide when you're calculating your application loan amount, because you don't want to, as Nely said, leave money on the table. Everybody wants to get the highest loan amount that they can, right? That they should, be eligible for.
And I went ahead and typed that that URL in the chat for anyone that needs it. This is a question asked anonymously, and it may be that other people are wondering the same thing. And I know we've gone over this before, but maybe we can just reiterate. Do you have to pay back PPP loans?
So as oxymoronic as it sounds, free, right? We say it's like free loan payable, you don't have to pay it back. And we hear the word loan and then we think, wait, a loan means we have to pay it back, right? But forgivable. I know I've never in my life heard of a forgivable loan except a grant. So you're going to look at it like a grant. We don't call it a grant, but it is forgivable. You follow the directions. You keep it easy for yourself. You just payroll, you put your documentation in there. You should have full forgiveness. We want to work with you. We want to help you. We want to forgive all of our loans. That's our ultimate goal.
Yeah, so you have to have your paperwork. You got to do your part. It's almost like a puzzle. If you do your part, it's forgivable. They have to have the paperwork and the backup to prove that you actually used it, that you didn't go buy a Mercedes-Benz with the money. And believe me, some people have, and they're going to get in big trouble. So it's really that they want to know that it's being used for the right reasons, not that people are going to go buy a boat or a car or whatever. So make sure you don't do that. Make sure you pay yourself a salary with the money, and you pay your employees and you retain your employees. I mean, there's all kinds of, we're going to talk about it later, all kinds of tax incentives to keep your employees. It's all about making the economy flow again. So they want to forgive you. So don't do something stupid, because then you're going to owe the money and then have the Mercedes. You're going to have to sell the Mercedes to pay for the. So we have to really be conscientious.
Absolutely. So any other questions? We go back to our
There's
PowerPoint.
tons of questions, but I want you to keep going with the EIDL because I think it's a really important thing. And then Jen, keep track, because we're going to answer all these questions.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, go ahead. We're just running out of time, and I want to make sure that we get through the EIDL and some of these other ones.
And you can always send us a question, info@becomingselfmade.com. You'll see it at the page at the
We
very
will get it answered for you.
So we will answer your questions if we don't get to them.
Okay, so I'll go through these slides quickly, so we can get to the end here. So, just remember the deadline for PPP second draw is May 31st. Remember that you would need to apply through your lender. Remember that the eligibility of the funds from the first draw, you must have used it or will have already used it up by the time you get the second draw. You have to have less than 300 employees, and you can demonstrate at least 25% reduction in gross receipts with comparable quarters 2019 and 2020. Remember that now we have extended our forgivable expenses to include payroll, including benefits, and rent, utilities, worker protection costs for COVID, uninsured property damage caused by looting, vandalism, and any certain costs or expenses for operations that you have. Maximum loan amount, remember, it's the maximum loan amount for second draw, 2.5, the average monthly salary of payroll of 2019 or 2020 up to 2 million. And if you're in the accommodation and food sector, this is NACE code 72, you will multiply your payroll amount by 3.5 to obtain the maximum of PPP funds for the second draw. This information is on www.sba.gov/relief. Just click on PPP. So let's go ahead and go through EIDL. So this is the loan amount for EIDL is 24 months of economic entry via 500 maximum loan. You do not need to submit an increase request. The SBA is going to reach out directly and provide details about how we can request an increase. If you've
So let me explain that. If you got a loan already with EIDL, they're going to reach out to you and say, do you need additional money? Do you want a bigger loan? This is a loan. This is not forgivable. So I want everybody to know that, because it sounds great to get all this money. You have to pay it back. It's a 30-year loan. So be clear. If you don't need this, don't do it, because you're going to have to pay it back.
Right. And remember, this loan is a 3.75 interest rate for profit organizations, 2.75 interest rate for non-for-profit organizations. But it is a traditional loan you do need to pay back. Now, all SBA design loan payments are deferred. Loans made in 2020, the first payment due will be 24 months of the note. Loans made in 2021, the first payment due 18 months from the date of the note. If you accepted a loan for less than the full amount originally offered, you will up to 2 years after the date of the promissory note request additional funds. So remember, if you find yourself running low and you need additional funds, you can request that. Now, you may continue to request additional funds even after the application deadline of December 31st, which is 2021. So if you have not applied for the EIDL and you feel that you are going to need additional funds, although this is a traditional loan that you do have to pay back, you have until December 31st, 2021 to apply. You would go to sba.gov/relief, click on EIDL, and the application will be there for you.
I want to jump in, Victoria, because I just want to say that with the EIDL, a lot of you have asked me, can we use this to pay off our loans? Can we use this? No, it's to run your business. Now, I am a big proponent of buying the building that your business is in, and this is a great moment to do that if you can. And the SBA has loans for that, to buy the building that you're in. And they have great rates, but also banks out there have the lowest rates ever in the history. I mean, to buy your building right now, and the building might be worth more than the business eventually. So I just want to do my commercial, since I always say, don't buy shoes, buy buildings. And everybody's like, oh my God, commercial. Well, this is going to be a good time, because everybody has been out of buildings for a year, and a lot of landlords are selling buildings. So I just want to say, the SBA has all kinds of other loans for stuff like that. This loan is for your business, and it's at 3.75. It's a good rate. It's a good rate traditionally, but right now for real estate, there are even lower rates through banks and through the SBA's real estate department. So just remember, there's a lot of other money. We're just giving you the big one. So if your company needs money to keep alive and going, this is a great loan, but don't take it if you don't need it, because you have to pay it back.
Can I just say something? Yes. So our real estate loan program is our 504 program, and that's an excellent program that Nely was referring to, historically low rates. One tip on the EIDL loan program, because I don't want to waste everybody's time, you spend hours doing an application. If in 2019 you were, you weren't a profitable business, you were running in the red, you were negative numbers, right? Net profit income was negative, then that program is not to resuscitate or revive a pre-COVID unhealthy business. So that would be a different SBA loan program, like our Community Advantage or a micro loan or something like that, where they're going to look at last 3 years tax returns historically and look at the bigger picture, and you have a compelling story and you're working with an underwriter. The EIDL loan is specifically for, like Nely said, operating expenses to run your business. And before the disaster hit, you were doing fine. So I just wanted to share that tidbit with everybody.
Victoria, I want to be respectful of everyone's time and we're running out of time. So can we move forward to the debt relief for certain SBA loans, sort of additional things that are out there? Because I want to make sure we get to the end. And I think it's important because you have micro loan borrowers coming up and I think people really need that.
So just to let people know with the targeted EIDL advance, you don't have to do anything. If you qualify, SBA will reach out to you and ask you to apply. Always look for emails that start with sba.gov. If you don't see that, it might be spam or phishing, and do not provide them with that with any personal financial information. So this is the information on the debt relief program. Deborah, if you would like to go through this slide.
Sure. So I just want to remind everybody, like Nely said, Victoria and I want to promote this for new 7A 504 or microloans. Our Community Advantage program, 50,000 to 250 is under our 7A program. That's for startups. If you need a new loan, right? If you were approved on or before after February 1st, 2021, right? So approved on or after February 1st, 2021, and through September 30th, 2021. So you have till September, the end of September, you can potentially get approved for 3 months principal and interest deferment, right? So you will not have to pay the first 3 months of your loan. And our micro loans and our CA, there's a way to potentially get eligible of another 3 months on top of the 3 months. So you want to check with the lender for that, see if you apply, because it's a great, opportunity to get even more debt relief.
Great. And I think that these are some other things that let's hit them a little quickly.
Yeah, these will be really
these are things that are coming up. There's more money and we're going to do more webinars for you.
Absolutely. We're going to have a supplemental targeted EIDL advance program. You can take a picture of here and go on the website to get additional information. We're going to have a restaurant revitalization fund and grants. This is directly to help our restaurants, which were our hardest hit industry. We're going to also have Community Navigator. It's a pilot program that we have that we're going to be providing additional assistance to those in most need. So again, you can get more information on this by going on those websites.
Wonderful. And this is a great page. I think everybody should take a picture of it because it tells you what's coming up. The PPP program, the debt relief, the 504 and microloans. All good stuff. The EIDL is coming soon, the supplemental targeted EIDL advance, and the restaurant revitalization program, as well as the shuttered venue. All incredible things. Remember, silver linings. This has been, what have I told you this whole year? Crisis. We have to prepare for crisis, and we have to have a relationship that helps us get through it all.
Absolutely.
My ladies, I love you for your service. I think it's great. I want to tell all of you, Jennifer, can you show us our slides where everybody can get more information? So just know that you can go on our site, becomingselfmade.com. We have webinars that we've done about everything you're going to need. And especially with Victoria and Deborah, we've gone through every form step by step for you. And in this moment of crisis, how to really navigate, how to actually come out better. Even sometimes things have to die for other things to be reborn. Okay, sometimes you have to pivot your business or change your business or even kill your business, but then other doors open. I've been through many crises in my life. You know, you guys have heard this from me over and over again. And after something like this, opportunities come up. And so I want us to still all be positive, okay? Jen, the next slide, please. This is how to reach us. We will answer all of your questions. I know we didn't get to every single one of your questions today, but Victoria and Deborah will answer, and we will answer questions for you. And if you need any of the paperwork, we'll send it to you. Okay, we can get out of the slide. Thank you. I want to say
I just want to reiterate that everyone that's registered for this webinar will receive a recording of this, and it'll be available later on our site, and you can send it to your friends, your family, and anyone who may need it. So that will be available to everyone.
I want to thank our partner MoneyLion, who's here with us and who has done so much for so many of us during the pandemic, and we love them. And Victoria Guerrero and Deborah Salas, Thank you for your service. You have been like frontline workers, helping all of us get the money. We've gotten so many small business owners the money last year, and we'll continue to do so. And I want to do a shout out to my friend Isabel Guzman, who is the new administrator of the SBA and who worked with me last year at the governor's task force here in California, and who I know is devoted to getting the money out there to all of our small business owners. So we thank you all very much. We are with all of you. We're together in it. I'm so happy we're participating in the financial system of this country. Jennifer Guzman, who works with me, thank you so much for working on behalf of all of us every day. And you know, I love my favorite word in Spanish, adelante. We have to move our butts. We gotta keep going forward. We have to get out of this disaster, and we have to make things better every day and go work with our SBA. Thank you all so much, and we will see you very soon in another webinar. Thank you. Adelante.
Wow.
Adelante. Gracias.